Traffic is. We are live.
We are live.
We are live. I'm alive.
And it's on the internet. Holy cow.
It is Wellness Wednesday, and we are going to have fun. You've showed up to the right place called Fun. And I'm with my good buddy, Pete Pompacci. Wellness Wednesday, of course, with Connected, a mental health initiative. And our guest is outstanding. One of my favorite names, Karen. Hood-Caddy. The reason why I like it is that Karen, obviously we know my beautiful sister who I lost to mental health. Hood is I love wearing hoodies. And Caddy, that's when I golf. I love it. She's everything a man would want. So
it's a trifecta.
That's it. And I'm really looking forward to it. I had an opportunity to look after you sent me the note on Karen, passionate, and we will learn some soul searching tonight. We will be able to understand what we need to do to get better and to enjoy our lives. I'm looking forward to that. But before we bring her up, of course, I want to thank you always, General Project. I've seen some great stuff on the internet. You're always so open and helping. I see you've got all your friends in the background behind you. They're not real. And I've got my friends right here. My second personality standing right beside me. And look at, big announcement. Look at this puppy.
Oh, the new studio.
How's that looking?
Looks amazing.
The Molson Canadian best seats in the house at the bottom line. Gooch Live, lunch with Gooch and friends happening every Wednesday now. You got to check it out. Come on down. It's an actual studio. We'll be giving prizes away. And we'll be doing Leaf games, pre-game Leaf games where we'll have some of the Leaf alumni join us. And we will have an opportunity to hear from some of the best about the Leafs and talk about hockey. And you, my friend, are a winner.
Do you know, can I just say this? I just think that is absolutely brilliant. You know, this is the future of the restaurant and hospitality industry. Is it, you know, we can go to have a beer, we can go have a bite to eat just about anywhere. And certainly if you have great food or really cold beer, those tend to be two things that will attract customers. But I think the experience that you have created down at the bottom line with that people will want to be there, who will want to see, you know, meet alumni players, but also to see you and to see you put on a show and talk about the topics of the day. Kudos to you for making that happen. And obviously with your bud down there, you know, those things don't happen easily, but I think right now it's an amazing, amazing experience for people to head down to the bottom line and check it out.
Well, thank you for that compliment.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to come and see? Why wouldn't you want to come and see this?
Yeah, well.
All right, let's get into it. We've got Karen, and I know she's going to enlighten us. Her passion is incredible. It's infectious. The smile's infectious. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, be ready for learning and fun with the General Project, Connected Mental Health. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is.
How lovely.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm feeling great tonight and glad to be here. This is going to be fun.
Your flowers behind you are absolutely exquisite. Do you water them? Or are those,
yes, I do. They're fresh from the garden, bringing them in for the winter.
Or are they painted on the wall like Pete's friends?
Yeah.
Pete.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the conversation tonight. Karen has been somebody I've been close to. She's been my personal coach for over a decade. And, you know, what I think is really powerful, I think, and again, this is something I think we need to talk about tonight, is just as we come out of this global pandemic, aside from the challenges that we'll discuss tonight, I think everybody needs a coach, you know, whether that's a close confidant that you have, or you need to go to somebody externally, like a professional paid coach. You know, right now we need to be at the best we can be, and we need to be at the top of our game, and just to get through some of the challenges that we'll face. So I think, you know, this conversation tonight with Karen will give a little insight to the type of conversations we might have, but also just the opportunity for all of us to think about who's in our life that could play that supportive role, because I think we're all going to need somebody to play that role for us as we head forward.
Very well said, Pete. Karen, we want to know who you are. Our viewers are asking, who is Karen Hood?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, I work as a personal development coach. So I work with people in many countries in the world to help them be the best they can be. And I think it's been such a challenge over the last 2 years because people have been so frightened by what's been going on, and it's been so unclear. You read one scientific thing and it says one thing, or you check into what one country's doing or another country's doing, and it's very, very different. And so, like many things in life these days, I feel our challenge in this particular epoch that we're living in is to tune into ourselves, because it's the same as if you have cancer. You're going to have one doctor saying do this, have chemo. Another health practitioner might say no, do this instead. Everyone's got a different opinion, and the advantage of that, even though that can be challenging, is that we get to tune in to see what's right for us. And I think that that's been the big challenge of COVID, is for people to say, well, what do I think? What's right for me? And a lot of my work is helping people to find their own inner truth, because, as I say, there's so many different opinions out there about what to do. And it's the same now coming out of it as it has been, throughout the whole thing. A lot of people are really pushing themselves to say, well, it's over now. I should feel fine about going out. I should be able to go to restaurants now and do whatever I want to do. And certainly they're doing that in the United States. Nobody's wearing a mask down there really pretty well, except for some limited places. There's a bit of smattering of masks, but people are not sure what to do. And I think that's fair enough. What I've been saying to clients is the body takes its time, and we've all been traumatized with this virus. It's been huge. It's killed, what is it now, 5 million people on the planet? It's huge what it's done. And so our cognitive processes may say, oh yes, it's fine now, I'm double vaccinated, I'm okay. But our bodies are going, oh, a lot of us anyway are saying, I'm not at all sure. I don't know if you're facing that, Pete, but I had about 3 weeks ago, I had a meeting with my partner and 2 other friends, and it was the first time I'd been in somebody's house. And we had to kind of say, gee, is it all right to not wear masks? And do you want to wear a mask? And where can we sit where there's some kind of airflow? We sat in a kind of sunroom area, and that helped. But I thought I would be fine. And then when I got there, just sitting in the car before going in, it was like, oh my gosh, this is safe? How do I feel about this? And I had to do a bit of a check-in, and it took me a little bit of time to relax. And they said the same thing. We had been their first guests. And it took us all a little bit of time to kind of tune in to see what we felt good about. And I think that's just as it needs to be. We don't know. It's still really unclear. Don't you find it's still unclear whether out of the woods or not?
For sure. Last night, and I think you and I were chatting last week, I attended a morning breakfast with 67 other people. It was a corporate thing. And,
yes.
I had to ask going in just how many people were going to be there, because I was a little nervous about going in. And then last night I played hockey, and you might have heard the story, I think, in Gooch, you'll probably know the story about the gentleman, 75 years old, dies from playing rec hockey because he picked up COVID there, and everybody on the team was double vaxxed. I heard kids were playing in the game before, and that it was the kids who passed the COVID on. But as I was having a beer in a bar last night with my guys after hockey, the question was not even worrying about per se the people around us, but just this fear, this I don't want to say dread, but that something's lurking, that we can't be out of this thing because we went in and out in and out. It's like, is it really? Could we be out of this? And I wonder what that will do to people, Karen. Like, because it almost makes me feel like I'm afraid to take the full leap out for fear that we'll be back in, at Christmas time or something.
Yes. And that's a legitimate fear, I think. We've all been through so many ups and downs with the pandemic right from the beginning, so that could happen. We don't know. But I think what's most important is for you to decide for yourself, or me, or any of us, to say, okay, what do I feel good about? What is my stance on what I'm going to do? Because we're all so unique. Our age is part of it, whether we have an existing illness or, something that makes us less than challenges our immunity or whatever. So there's a lot of things to consider, and only we know ourselves as well as we know ourselves. And so I don't think we can tell anyone else, or anyone else can tell us, really. It's important to read the science, yes, and be up to date. But many of us will be trepidatious, and I think that's fair. And I think we need to learn to handle our anxiety, which has been the name of the game almost all the way through this.
Yeah, I think I think, and this comes back to empathy and compassion, right? It's understanding to meet people where they are, and I think is it a year, maybe 2 years of just saying before you come in to see somebody, hey Karen, I'm coming up. What would you like? And I see Jordan there making
Yeah,
a
this is a
comment
great
about
one.
Australia, saying, hey, look, when I go into somebody's house, I ask them what they prefer. And I think just being comfortable and saying, look, we're all, still a little uncomfortable here. And how can I best make us, both comfortable so that we can get connected? Because we need the human interaction
Oh,
like we've
I
never
love
needed it
that. I
before.
love that, Pete. Yes.
I
What do
love,
we need to clear so we can get connected? That's a beautiful way of putting it. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And as Pete knows, we just are one of those type of people that I'm just looking for something extra special here. Just don't move, anybody. Don't move, because we all need a hug. So thank you again to you, Karen, and of course to you, Pete. Hey, listen, I wanted to add to your discussion here. Obviously, Jordan, thank you for joining us in Australia. You've been an absolutely fantastic supporter of our show. Connected is all about our Wellness Wednesdays, are actually talking about these things. You talked about engagement, very difficult. We've talked about this before with Stephen Morris, where, all of a sudden people are going to open up and go into the real world, and some of us will be ready, some of us won't. What is good for you may not be good for somebody else.
Yes. Yes.
Also, understanding your own space. That's where I've come a long way. I understand my own space. It's my responsibility to take care of me. And so I will not put myself
Well
in a
said.
position to hurt somebody else. And listen, Pete, you and I are sports. I don't know your background in sports, Karen, but when I hear Sidney Crosby is now suffering from COVID symptoms and is out
No.
along with Aaron Rodgers, these are two predominant athletes. We do not know the extent, so I don't want to say anything. With Sidney Crosby, we know he's out of the game. Jordan, I know you'll be upset at that. You're a Pittsburgh Penguin fan, and he's just getting back from an injury. So that is just crazy. Um, Pete and I do this often, and we get special guests, and you are now one of my favorites. And the reason is because you say the right words. You talked about, and Pete, as you know, I've been one of those guys. Let's just go out and turn the light switch on, and we're ready to rock. But we know that's not the case. We know that this is out there, and I thought you said it best, Pete. It's lurking. It's almost like Halloween. Those scary movies. When is it going to jump out at us? And I think that's what I noticed last night when I went to a function. I wore my mask. I stayed socially distanced. And some people you could see standing on the sidelines. And some of them, they didn't beat in the band. They didn't care. They were right in it. How is
Yeah.
that going to affect us, Karen? How does, I know that you deal with a lot of business people and people, developing their thinking. What do you hear outside on the street right now?
Well, I would say again, just a lot of uncertainty. And I love what you said about people taking full responsibility for themselves, because I think that's just really crucial that we all do that. And like, for example, someone was telling me that were going out for dinner in a restaurant. It was the first time that they'd done that. It wasn't that great, and they had to show their vaccination certificate before they got in and all that. And then I said to them, "Well, was your server double vaxxed?" And they said, "Oh, I have no idea." So doesn't that say a lot that here you are in a restaurant where you think you're totally safe because the restaurant has required the other people who were there with you, the guests, to be vaxxed, but maybe not their staff. So again, when we're taking responsibility for ourselves, we need to ask some questions sometimes of other people. And it's amazing to me how reluctant sometimes people are to say that. Have you been vaccinated? No judgment. I just want to know, because we have the right to know, especially if we are interrelating with seniors at all, because, the case you just talked about with the hockey player, seniors, they're just so much more at risk because of their age. And yeah, that's just who was the guy in the States who just died, the big major guy a couple of weeks ago. And, supposedly it was just because he was older, and they're not, older people aren't as able to do that. So some of us have, seniors in our lives. We have to be careful of them. We could be giving it to somebody, transmitting it. And I think that would be an awful thing to feel that we've done.
Pete, just before you comment, I wanted to,
Yeah.
because you did bring this up, Powell. I
Yeah,
can't
Colin
remember his
Powell.
first name, Colin Powell.
Colin
And
Powell,
and
yes.
and the anti-vaxxers came out and they tried to use that as he died from COVID. But we also have to realize that the vaccine can only do so much. He had already had a very serious cancer that he was battling with. So thank you for bringing that up, because we certainly need to get all the facts. The myths are one thing. I'm sure, Pete, I'm sure, Karen, you have some anti-vaxxers, and I've got the conspiracy leader. I will not
Absolutely.
mention his name. I still love him. I talk to him once a week. I hang up on him a lot because it just goes on and on. But hey, we just have to learn to deal with that. We're going to be dealing with this for the next couple of years. So, Pete.
Well, first off, just on that comment, Kara, I think it's so important for us to actually have conversations.
Yes.
Shutting people off because they think differently than you is not the
Yes.
solution to
Yes.
creating a world where we're more empathetic and compassionate. So kudos
Yes.
to you for having those conversations. Karen, here's what I wanted to ask you is, we're 19 months into this. I don't know if you can kind of boil it down to, what do you think the biggest challenge has been for people as they've gone through the 19? If you've heard it from your clients, what's been the single largest challenge? And B, when you talk about that, finding that internal, and I'll use the word confidence, that internal understanding of who you are, what you need, where you're going. What do people need to be thinking about now as they move forward? Like, what are some of the tips? What are some of the ideas that people could kind of grasp onto and say, look, if I'm going to try and work my way through this, I'm going to try and stay as strong as I can, control the things that I can control. What are the things that you recommend that people should be thinking about as they move forward?
That's a really, really great question, Pete. And I think regardless of what industry someone's in, or even if they're, someone who takes care of kids at home, the big deal is anxiety. It's just a big deal these days. A lot of people have a lot of anxiety and they don't know how to deal with it. And who's taught how to handle their anxiety? Most people are totally flummoxed when it comes to coping with their inner agitation. And a lot of people are very agitated these days. So, I spend a lot of time teaching my clients tools for self-regulation, because these days you've got to have that. We can't necessarily go to a film, or 6 months ago anyway, you couldn't go to the bar, or the pub, or go bowling or whatever. We've had to take care of ourselves. And I think that's a wonderful gift of COVID, learning how to take care of ourselves. But that involves spending some time picking up some tools. And, one of the things I could suggest that people check out, and I was thinking even we could do some tonight, but I'm not sure it'd be appropriate, but is box breathing. I mean, box breathing is a fantastic tool for energizing your system and calming you at the same time. It's a 4-part breath, and it's dynamite. I mean, you can do it. You can do it anywhere, anytime, for a couple of minutes and change your state. So that's personal power, isn't it? That we're not so affected by what's going on out there. Yes.
Oh, we got a timeout on the ice.
No, let's do some box breathing. What is that?
All right, let's do it.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, should we do that? Yeah, I think it'd be great. Okay.
I mean,
So
before you do that,
close your eyes, just kind of relax yourself.
Just before you do that, I want to do this. I know Jordan maybe have to leave because he goes to work. He wanted to say, I think a lot of people are vaccine hesitant, not anti-vaxxers. I thought that was important.
Yes, good point.
Here we go.
And it looks like he's going to join us for some box breathing. So
Jordan, I want to hear you. I want to hear you breathing from Sydney, Australia. Here we go.
I'm going to put myself on mute because I don't want you to hear my breathing.
Hey, do I hum? Do I hum in this situation? Is it?
Oh, this is great. Okay. Well, it's called box breathing because it's a 4-part breathing kind of thing. And so that makes it easier to remember. So if you close your eyes now, we'll just do it for 2 or 3 minutes. And so
it's
just
not a workout, is it?
Pardon?
It's not a workout. I don't have to take a shower after, do I?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
So do a scan. Do a little scan through your body. And if 0 were no stress and 10 were really stress, where are you right now? So that's one important thing, is to kind of get, where am I right now? Because sometimes we're really stressed and we don't know it. So, okay, check through. Okay, am I like 3, or am I right up there at 8 or 9? What are my muscles? What is my general agitation right now at 0 out of 10?
So 10 means bad?
Yeah, 10 means high stress. Yes, high stress.
Okay,
so
I'm a 9.
Yeah, okay. And a lot of people are. A lot of people are.
Wow.
Okay, yeah. So now, okay, so I want you to breathe. I'll just tell you the protocol, and then I'll lead you through it. So we're breathing in through our mouths to full breath in through the mouth, hold for, we do that for the count of 4. Then we hold the breath in with nothing happening for a count of 4. Then we breathe out our noses for a count of 4. And then we hold with no oxygen in our systems for a count of 4.
All right.
So let's do it together.
Here we go.
In your mouth for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Out your nose 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. In your mouth 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Out your nose 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. In your mouth 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Out your nose 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. In your mouth 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Out your nose 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. 2 more. In the mouth 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Out your nose 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. In your mouth 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Out your nose 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Now keeping your eyes closed, take a big breath. Hold it. And then breathe it all out. And keeping your eyes closed for just another 10 seconds, just scanning your body now. What do I feel now? Am I any different? Are my shoulders more relaxed? But sometimes my voice goes right down because my vocal cords relax so much when I do this. Just notice where you feel you're sitting a little bit more heavily in your chair, a little bit more relaxed. Just see what you notice. And has that number gone down? I mean, we only did, probably a minute and a half of breathing there. I usually do about, 5 to 10 minutes of this every morning. So you guys tell me, did you notice any difference?
I'm a 10.
You're more stressed.
I had anxiety that I may pass out on the show and people would be worried about me. That was a workout. Actually, I have been taught that. Not that specific one because I have asthma. So they taught me a little bit about that breathing. And thank you for sharing that. I forgot all about it. And I can recall when I was having a panic attack, like with my asthma. Karen, I've had zero asthma, zero since the pandemic. It took a pandemic to get rid of it. I've had little incidences, but it's been about me being calmer. And I think you mentioned it, and we've talked about this too, Peter. What you've just done has allowed us to kind of get inside our own bodies and be with ourselves, right? When the pandemic hit, we were still out there watching every news show and trying to get in all this information. That
100 miles an hour. Yeah,
absolutely. And through the pandemic, what you've just done also is it brought me back to when I started to think, okay, and Pete knows it. I'm 165 miles a year on a plane. I'm active. I'm all over the map. I got balls in the air, juggling. Jordan would know that because he's been involved in some of these crazy things. And what it gave me an opportunity to, you said tools in the toolbox. I had an opportunity to take inventory, not only of my physical part. Unfortunately, I add a little bit to it, but also my surroundings, all the things that I had in my household. I got to understand I got way too much stuff. I don't need all this stuff, and it was time to clean house. So I think what you've just showed us again, a reminder that take some time out for yourself, because that's what I felt. I felt though I listened to your voice, I was in myself, not listening to anything else.
Yeah, and most of the time we're so externally focused and so distracted, we don't know what's going on inside, let alone know how to modulate that. And being able to modulate yourself is a hugely important skill, and especially if things get worse again. Because if they do, it doesn't matter if you're in control of yourself and able to self-modulate. It matters a lot less what's going on out there. the reason we focus so much on what's going on out there is we have it just whacks us around.
Yeah.
We get so tense and tight, but we don't have to. So how was that for you, Pete?
Yeah, you know what? I found it probably took me down a single notch, in the midst of, doing the show and having these conversations and thinking about, where we're going next. And for me, I think what's really valuable about that for me is, especially for, I'll say that we probably get more guys watching this show than females, Gooch. Because you are the hockey legend, and therefore you get a big following. And I think men especially, when we talk about the things we need to have considered through this pandemic, Karen, you were talking about finding the tools in your toolbox and working on yourself. I think many of us, and it's not just men, women as well, we're so caught up in the world pre-pandemic that we wouldn't have made time for things like box breathing. But now, we've had 19 months of, I'll call it a slower pace, although sometimes it doesn't seem slower because everything's so blended together that it's actually, it almost seems busier, but I don't think it is. I think it's just because everything is kind of piled on one top of a heap and you don't even know what's coming and going on it. And that's probably part of the problem. But what I loved about doing that is, the introduction of a new, and you and I have done that before, and I've certainly heard about it before, and even Gooch's response, which is, I've heard about that before, but I forgot about it. And this is the value of continually for each other as human beings. This is part of humanity, whether it's a coach, whether it's a friend, just saying, hey, have you ever tried box breathing? Or have you ever tried, going for a walk? Have you ever tried connecting with people? Have you ever tried? All these things are the things that we can all play a role in helping each other through this, because you got to start in here to make sure that you're doing the things for your mental health, physical health, social health, before we can start worrying, to your point, Karen, about all the external things that the pressure will always be there for the external stuff.
And to come back to your wonderful word connect, as we connect with ourselves, and how we connect with others is so much better. If I'm in a really good space and I'm cool and peaceful and together, and I'm with you, you feel that, and then we can connect better because I'm not distracted and looking around and just not present. So that word connection, I feel like you are so much about helping people connect in the world, and I'm a lot about people connecting inside. And I think the two together make just such an incredible team, in that we need to do both very much.
Yeah, and I read an article once that actually showed that it was a discussion regarding whether Maslow got it backwards. For some people, the social connection may be the starting point to actually doing other things. And for other people, you might start by doing other things to get connected with other people.
Yeah.
And so there is no one right way, to your point, Karen. For some people, it starts internally, but for other people, you might need the social connection to feel more confident about yourself, and then have a purpose to actually go take care of yourself, because you know that people care about you. And therefore you go, hey, well, I guess I should take care of me because other people really like me. So, so everybody's a little bit different, but I think that I'll call it the trifecta: mental health, physical health, and social health. If we can work that package together,
that. Yeah.
That's how I think, most of us can work our way through all of this.
Listen, we've got Jordan in Australia. I want to thank him so much for taking time out. Box breathing sounds intriguing. And look at his answer after you asked the question. This is pretty good. My shoulders are less tense for sure. And I know Jordan, you don't know him personally. He's a tense kind of dude, and he's on edge at times. Wonderful man. And taking the time out to do box breathing with us is absolutely amazing. Thanks, Jordan.
And it was 2 minutes. We did 2 minutes. Imagine if you did 10 minutes. If you had 10 minutes, it would be huge.
What's the reco? Like you do how long in the morning, Karen?
I do it for 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Karen, no disrespect. If I did it for 10 minutes, I'd need a nap. Listen, one of the things that I just heard, and we've talked about this, Peter, I think a very knowledgeable man came up with this statement. It's the best medicine for people is people. And I think that
I
relates
love that.
into obviously Pete and Genwell project. I want to do a shout out to the Fired Up Network. We are on 180 new podcasts with them. This show will go out to many, many people, and we ask you to email, go and check out the Fired Up Network. Terry and Joe have just done a marvelous job, and Pete will be getting more engaged. And Karen, they have a couple of shows that I think I will definitely get you on to help, because they
Oh,
do
great.
business development and they're really into helping people right at this particular moment. I think that's amazing what you do and what you just did for me, and I know for Pete. Uh, just before we're going to go on a little bit longer, because I really enjoy our conversation. I'll ask you both of this. As we know, I come from the concussed space, which deals with a lot of anxiety, depression, suicidal issues that are going on. Added to that now, our world has definitely fallen apart when it comes to those, the anxiety for most of us are up. A lot of more depression we're hearing about. Obviously, we know about the suicide situation. The issue that we have right now is that these things are around us. They're 24/7. They don't know our age. They don't know our gender. They don't know our activity. They don't know our social status or our sexuality. And yet we're dealing with all of these things, with Black Lives Matter, with obviously the situation with our Indigenous, and of course the equality for women and men. It's all kind of hitting us all at the same time when we're really all at once, and we're at this moment where we're not quite as overwhelmed by all the things we're doing. So we're taking a lot more in. Could you both tell me, please, do you feel that once we get out of this COVID situation, who knows how long that will be, that we'll need some help?
Well, personally, I feel that we're on track for an even greater trauma, and that's with the climate. So the climate situation and what they're discovering here, reporting on in Glasgow, and what's happening with the various countries. I just feel like we're in for decades of a really challenging time. So, which is, which I think we can all cope with if we learn more skills to work ourselves. None of us are really taught how to do any of that, how to work with anxiety, how to calm ourselves down, how to learn to sleep better. We're just so unknown to ourselves, and that's a huge liability. And you can be in charge of yourself. And that's what my work is all about, is helping people be in charge of themselves, make different choices in relationships or in work, or be happier, or, whatever it is, you're in charge of yourself. So there's a lot of tools out there, from that to meridian tapping to self-hypnosis. There's all kinds of things. So I think we're in for a long haul of a lot of challenging situations. And I think we're going to have to all learn different ways to step up to the plate, because otherwise we get into more issues out there, like the violence is up, 25-30% in the United States right now, gun deaths, etc. And that's just going to carry on as people get more and more anxious. So if we can learn to cope with those things ourselves without medicating ourselves to death, I think that puts us ahead of the game. That's my personal philosophy. What do you think, Pete?
I couldn't agree more, and I'll even throw in, I think a lot of people think that COVID is the biggest issue that we're going to face, and the reality is, even when COVID is over, the number of people who haven't sought treatment for illnesses, the number of people who've been diagnosed with an illness, the number of divorces that have happened during this, the people who've lost jobs, transition jobs, working from home, people who've been thrust into working from home that are in 800 square feet, whether they live alone and they're isolated, or whether they live with, the family, and they've had to work off of both ends of the kitchen table in an 800 square foot condo for, 19 months. The pressures and the stresses are coming from everywhere. And I think for all of it, and Karen, I'm your biggest fan, because I think it really does come back to, finding that, and it's a bit of inner peace, but it's also about saying, what is really important in this world?
Yes.
We know that Dr. Robert Waldinger at Harvard, the single largest thing that makes us happy in life is the time we spend with other people. And so if you're spending time with other people also increases our chances of living longer by up to 50%. So if I told you that you would be happier and live longer if you spent more time with people, and you didn't prioritize that in what you did to come out of the pandemic. And spending time with people helps you cope and find solutions for unemployment, for the challenges that you might be facing. Maybe it's about building a community of people that can support you because you've got kids and somebody's got to homeschool or somebody's got to take care of the kids while you go do the grocery. We have to get back to connecting with people because it takes I like to say life is a team sport. We need people in our lives. We need the village. And I think we hopefully on the other side of this, we will face a lot of stresses and pressures, but if we actually come together, I think we can all overcome this in the best way possible because we actually value each other.
Hey, Pete.
Hey, that's Pete. Give thumbs up to Pete. Hey, listen, just before we let you go, Karen, I love what we're talking about. I'm going to do a little bit about you yourself and what you're doing, and talk about a book that you have out. And of course, anybody that wants to get a hold of Karen after listening to this here's her website, KarenHood-Caddy.com. Please make sure you check it out. I have been on the site and I really like it. I'll leave it running there for a while. What I wanted to do is, I took off, Pete, you sent me a little bit of information here. Life throws a lot at us. We lose people we love. We get ailments and illnesses. We fall down scared and uninspired. Karen, you teach people the tools to deal with difficult feelings and thoughts and teach them tools to take on problems so they can shine again and have a more soul satisfying life. Obviously, you've written a book. It's called Your Inner Gold, 21 Powerful Tools to Bring Back Your Shine. And I'm going to ask you this only. I want you to give us the first two that can bring back my shine.
The first two tools?
Yeah.
Well, I've given you one, which is box breathing, which is in the book.
Thank
So,
you.
but there are many, many breathing protocols.
Okay.
And the other would be to just have some quiet time every day where you just tune into yourself and ask how you're doing. Because it's amazing to me how, and this is often true of men, they don't know they're really, really in trouble till they're already really in trouble. Because men are taught to not tune into themselves more than women, right? And so they're often further down the rabbit hole of health and mental illness before they really recognize, oh my God. So just even saying to yourself in a given day, how am I doing? Am I okay? What do I need today? I mean, that's a wonderful self-assessment, which is what I had you do before the breathing, is where am I at today? That's a huge tool. Yeah. And the other thing I just want to say is my work website is Karen at personalbest.org. This is my writing website because I have about 9 books out, but I like my
what is it, Karen?
Karen at personalbest.org. Thank you so much.
That would take me forever to get up. I will put it on the show tag, so when it goes on YouTube and the others. Just before Pete asks the final question and we get your final thoughts, I wanted to ask you this. When you're dealing with anxiety and depression and you're overwhelmed, one of the things that I'd love to hear it from you, Karen, I think we've talked about this before, Pete, is the fact that should you take time out in your day, I know you should think about yourself, how you're feeling, but also worry time. I read this in an article where somebody said, take 5 to 10 minutes and do a worry time. Get all your worries out there.
Very
Think about all the things that are going, and then you shelve it, and then you go the rest of your day, and then the next day have your what's like all that stuff. Is that real? Can somebody actually do that?
It's funny. It's counterintuitive, isn't it? You wouldn't think that would be so effective, but it really is. And I really recommend people do that before bed, because often, you get to bed and then all those things swirl around your mind as you're lying there trying to go to sleep. But if you write them all out and you give yourself that 15 minutes to worry and stew and write it down before you go to bed, it's a proven technique for helping people sleep. You just get it out of your mind.
I'd have to assume that once you write it down, I think part of the solution, part of the process is looking at it and recognizing these things I can't do anything about. So let's not worry about those ones. And these are the 3 I can do something about. And tomorrow, here are the 3 steps that I will take. The first step I will take to try to solve it, because I think when you get it down, I've done lots of journaling in my past, and you've probably even recommended it to me. And once you get into that habit, it really is, I don't want to call it soothing, but it just gives you clarity
Yes, yes. And
what you should focus on and what you shouldn't focus on.
yes, yes. Well said, Pete.
So, yeah, I think that's a great one to write those down, Gooch, because I know you've got a lot of balls in the air, my friend, and just taking that time every night to kind of look at it and go, okay, here are the things I got to worry about. Which ones can I control, or which ones can I do something tomorrow? I think that's really, again, finding, there's so much about that the inner work that we can do, the things we can do every day. You know, I'm going to start, my wife is doing, she's not doing box breathing, but she's doing breathing. So I'm going to start doing it as well. I've got my morning walk with the dog. I probably should start journaling again, writing down the long list of things. So
everyone has tools that work for them and they like more than others. I mean, you have to do what feels right to you, what works best for you. I mean, at least you're doing something. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wake up, get out of bed, get my coffee, open up my emails and say, oh my God. And I go back to bed. Listen, Karen, just before we let you go, I think I pulled it up. Karen Hood-Caddy, personalbest.org.
Yes, it's Karen at personalbest.org.
Oh, so that's how they can get a hold of you. Yeah. They can send you an email. But also, I'd love them. Can they go on to personalbest.org? Is that a website?
Yes, it's a website. Yes.
I'd like people to check it out. And then, of course, there'll be contact information there. Karen, it was a pleasure to have you. We will have you back. Pete, you said it was going to be not only entertaining, but very educational. And it was both. Plus, the added bonus was we got a little bit of perspective on how to take care of ourselves with box breathing. Karen, I'm going to give you a final word to tell us if somebody is out there needing help and needing to speak, what do you suggest firsthand for them?
Take action. Just take action. Connect, as to use Pete's great word. Just connect. Connect with someone. Connect with a coach. Connect with a relative, a friend. Just connect. Reach out. Just don't feel you have to stew in it forever. There's always a different way out there for you. Always. There's always ideas and solutions.
Your smiles.
And I'm going to build on that and say, just don't wait for the crisis either. Like, don't wait until you're, as you said, as males tend to wait, Karen. It's like, don't wait till you're in the crisis. Reach out early. Being, struggling. It's like food and water. When you feel hungry, you go do something. When you feel like something's coming on, go take action.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. You two are great. I love this conversation. Thank you so much. It's been awesome being here with both of you.
Great to have you.
Your smile is infectious, and so is your positivity. Thank you, Karen. Unbelievable.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Karen.
Great, guys. Bye. Thank you. See you.
Pete. She's as advertised and more. Thank you for that. You know what? It's great now that we've been doing this for a while, and we're going to continue on doing Wellness Wednesdays. Today, I got to tell you, I didn't have the greatest day in the world, and I started out really good with obviously you see this new concept. I'm so proud. I can't wait. I'm like a little kid for you to come down and see tomorrow night. I'm actually doing my first pregame show for Tampa Bay. Wayne Cowley, who owns the bar, said, "Gooch, we need you." So I'm going to be down there at 6:00 doing the first live show. The studio is not finished yet. The official launch is on November the 13th, and I hope I can get you down there for that. But what's really amazing is that we've been doing this so long. Genwell Project, what you do to connect people around the world is absolutely fascinating. But also the fact that you're bringing guests like Karen on to help us, because I'm one of those guys, I think I know it all, so I don't need anybody to help. But listening to her, I looked at her website. I'm going to steal a couple ideas from her, but I think I understand it. I think people do need people to, I just think I know how to drive the car. The problem is I wasn't taught how to drive the car. I just did it. And I think sometimes we need people like Karen in our life to actually maybe get us, out of the ditch a little bit and get us back on the highway. Your thoughts?
Well, here's a thought, and I'm really glad you just kind of put it in those terms, because you used to be a professional hockey player, and the analogy that I'm going to use is a lot of us. What you just talked about is, sometimes when you get in the ditch, you might need a hand, and that's what we do in society. We tend to be crisis management. We wait until we're in crisis, and then we try to go get the help. And Karen said to me, this is probably nearly 10 years ago, maybe a little less than 10 years ago. She said to me, because it was after going through a couple, challenging times in my life when I pick up the phone, I call her, I say, Karen, you got some time? Let's spend some time together. Love to chat through, what's going
Great.
on. And she said, and as we get to the end of the crisis, so you've hit the bottom and you start to feel a little better. And then all of a sudden I'd say to her, okay, well, I'm done with you now. I'll call you when I've got the next crisis. And her comment was, well, why would you get rid of me now? And initially you think, oh, well, it's a sales pitch. She's just trying to make more money. But what you realize is when you think of being a professional hockey player, when you are working at a high level, when think of the things that you've got on your plate, you got 47 balls in the air. When you're working at a high level, do you get more coaches or less coaches when you're playing in the pros?
Of course you get more.
You get more coaches because when you are working hard, when you are being productive, when you are making other people better, helping, supporting, all that, you need to make sure the support. I was on a call globally today. We do this call every 2 weeks called Connecting the Connectors, everybody that's in this space. And we talked about, caregiver burnout. We talked about the people that are always caring for other people. And frankly, during the global pandemic, all of us have been caring for somebody.
Yeah.
Whether it's somebody who's lost a job, a divorce, an illness, people that are just struggling because they're isolated. The reality is we all need coaching right now. Yeah. And some people are fortunate enough that they've got it in a family member. They might have it in a colleague. They might have it in an old pal or, in somebody in the family, but other people may not have that option. And so whether it's Karen or another coach, the key is don't wait till you're in the crisis. Yeah. When you're doing well, get that coach there. Just maybe don't get them as often.
Yeah.
Because I talk to Karen every 2 weeks. When things are in a tough place, I do it every week.
Yeah, great.
But it could be once a month. Like the reality is have those people there, have an ongoing relationship so they can actually think like you, for you, and be that sounding board that says, okay, Carrie, get out of your own head. That's just you talking to you. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And you go, yeah, that's a good point. That doesn't make any sense, does it?
Pete, you touched upon, and I want to end the show on this because you really hit a nerve, not a nerve, but you've woken me up to it. Obviously, you and I are both very vocal. We don't have any issues sharing our feelings. And I'm one of the people that believe that strength is being able to show your feelings. My mother had brought me up like that. And one of the things you mentioned about caregiving, as you know, I was my mother's caregiver before we lost her, and I was also my sister's caregiver. And I went beyond the call of duty. And I'm not saying that to anybody pat me on the back, but I can honestly tell you, there was a moment when I lost my mother, and I sat there in the hospital with her, and she had passed. For a moment, there was a moment of happiness, knowing that I was going to get my life back. And I felt so guilty when I left that hospital with that feeling. So I can tell you from a person that's been through it, it's normal to think like that. I love my mother more than anybody in the world, other than my wife now, of course. But I think it's really important for people to take it and hear it from men like you and I, because normally you hear that from a woman. I could honestly tell you, I sat there and thought, I didn't say I'm glad she's gone. I just said, I can finally get my life back. And it's tough. Caregiver burnout is real, and we have to be, and especially what's going on now with this, Pete, we have to be prepared to lend a hand to people.
Hey, it is as simple as, I shared a story with somebody about a gentleman who went through a divorce, and a buddy of mine called me up. He took his life a year after. The greatest gift we can all give each other right now is the gift of human connection.
Yep.
It's a phone call. It's a Zoom chat. It's saying hello to somebody on the street. We all can make a difference in the lives of other people right now just by having a conversation. Because right now we are so devoid of the connections that we used to take for granted, the over 65% of connections that used to happen because we were in a groove, because we got up every day and we went to the office and we went to Starbucks and we went to here and we had lunch there, and everything was kind of in a routine. Yep. And those routines got, shaken to the core. and all those relationships that made us feel connected, made us have that sense of belonging, they disappeared. And now we're all realizing just how much all those connections meant to us. And it's still amazing to me, Carrie, to be honest with you, the number of people who don't see it. They don't realize just how impactful a lack of connection is to their mental health, their physical health. We still look to other things like physical activity and say, oh, I just need to get more exercise. That'll make me feel better. Yeah, it will make you feel better, but it still won't give you the connections that are going to help you maintain your social health moving forward. So this is why we're just constantly, hitting the drum on social health, because you can do all you want for mental health with gratitude and journaling and all those wonderful things. But if you're not building the relationships, you're going to continue to have to come back to some of those things, because those social connections are part of, building the three pillars of your health: mental, physical, and social health.
So well said, Pete. You connect so many people around the world. I can't thank you enough. The Genwell Project, make sure you check it out. I'm honored to have you as my co-host. Obviously, you've been listening to Wellness Wednesday with Pete Bombacci of Genwell Project. And of course, the Gooch right here on Connected Mental Health Initiative. Pete, look forward to next Wednesday. I hope we have a guest just as beautiful and wonderful as Karen. Thank you, bud.
Cheers, buddy. Ciao for now.
How great was that? Listen, I want to thank Fired Up Network for being a part of our Wellness Wednesdays, and we're really looking forward to bringing you guests all month long. I know as we lead up into the Christmas season, I think you're going to need more of us, and we need more of you. So thank you, Pete Bombacci from Connected, and I look forward to many, many great guests. All right. On behalf of the Fired Up Network, you've been listening to Connected. Good night.